Hi, it's been over a year now since I've started taking my creative career more seriously. And at the beginning of this journey, I actually focused on honing my photography skills. Though primarily I am a filmmaker and a video shooter, I enjoyed photography as a hobby. I just thought that it wouldn't hurt to not only improve on my photography, but also use it to sell as a skill alongside filmmaking. Here's what I learned pursuing photography and filmmaking in a year. So, how did I start? Two words: second shooting. For what? Weddings. But how did you even get into this wedding space? And it all started with this lens here. Not particularly that you need this lens to start doing weddings, but it is a symbol on how I got started. A manual 35mm lens on my good old Fuji X-T4. It's something that I'll never ever forget because of what this moment meant to me. It was about fall at this time of the year, and a coworker of mine at the time needed photos for her kids, and she would regularly have a photographer each year, but it just so happened that this year her photographer wasn't available, and she knew that I was trying to pursue photography and video, so she actually asked me to do the photos for her. Now, I made it abundantly clear that I am not an experienced photographer, and in fact, if I were to do all of this, I would do it all for free. At the time, this was because I wasn't confident in my photography skills, and I also lacked the credibility for me to feel like I could justify charging her. We set the date, we set the time, met up, and I started taking the photos. Once that was all said and done, I edited them and sent them her way. I just remember that the next day I arrived at work and she saw those photos. She was looking for me, and once she found me, she wanted to take a moment just to talk to me. When I saw her, she handed me an envelope, and I was just confused and not sure what it was. This was so defining for me because I just remember the look on her face, the words from her mouth. She said that she loved the photos and she just had to give me something just for appreciation. And that was the first time that I got paid to do photography. Just a very special moment to me because it's something that I remember to this day. This envelope, my first $100 from photography. My first time getting paid for doing something I loved. Not only did this moment give me the confidence to seek and figure out and find ways to improve my photography, but be open to any feedback or criticism in order to become better at this craft. Not too soon after, I submitted everything that I took during that time to anyone that was willing to take a look. From there, that's when I became a second shooter. During this time was a very humbling yet very important period for me, as I was able to have fellow peers critique me as a second and find ways for me to improve. Whether that was my positioning, focal lengths, lighting, posing, directing, even flash, that was a big game changer for me. I was able to learn from my mistakes, put in the work, apply those fixes, and over time, I was able to gather all those skills and polish them up, and eventually led me to lead my own weddings. As inspiring and simple the path may sound, I wanted to share some of the rough patches that I went through and to help you figure out whether this is for you or not. There's pros and cons to going this way that I did. First, let's start with the pros. If you enjoy traveling and seeing new things, you will be doing this a lot. Where I am, in Texas anyway, has me driving out further from what I'm familiar with. These venues are placed out of the city, outside of city limits. Often traveling farther than you're familiar with, and this allows you to see new things, try new food, and just get a feel of what local life is like. Number 2 pro. Primarily being a filmmaker, as a second shooter, I was able to learn the essentials of photography, and since it is a different craft, I am now able to apply it and use it elsewhere. I was able to learn the essentials of photography and have the knowledge in a way to allow me to have my own bookings as a wedding photographer. Pro number 3. You get to connect and work with fellow creatives. And most importantly, realize that this is a big day for those that you are shooting for. Much family and friends are gathering for a grand celebration, and everyone's dressed up nicely, and you were chosen to capture this day for them and to allow them to relive those memories. Now, for the cons. I wouldn't want this to deter anyone from pursuing wedding photo or video, but these are some things that I wish I knew beforehand. First, this is one time and one time only, meaning that for many of the couples, this will be the only day that they're going to be having a wedding. And when I first started, I would get really anxious knowing this. It's just a lot of pressure for you as a photographer, videographer, to capture these moments that you only have one day for. And it's just the fact that you know that they hired you to get those best moments, the wants, the needs, not only for yourself, but for them. It's just a lot of pressure, and not everyone can handle it. Second, long days. If you are someone that can't handle the long amounts of time traveling, nor the long days that are accustomed to weddings, I wouldn't recommend it. Understand, at the end of the day, though you are shooting, you are still working. You'll be on your feet all day. You'll have to be nimble. You'll be using your muscles. You will be fatigued. And on those crazier, tighter, busy days, you will wake up just not feeling like yourself. Just expect that waking up the next day will be a bit of a struggle. You have to be careful on how many you take at a time, because for me, when I first started early on, I would take all that I can, and I get it because you want to make yourself better. I made this mistake giving myself no rest. Back to back, long days, long drives. It will take a toll on your body. You just have to remember, in order to perform your best, you have to rest. I've now then learned to better pace myself, not only to understand what my body can take, but my mind. I 100% know where you're coming from, but as I said before at the beginning, I took more than I could handle and would often get sick and just wasn't always mentally there on those back-to-back weekends. Trust me, just don't do that to yourself. I myself took the limit to only do a certain amount of weddings each year now, and this is not only to ensure the best quality photos or videos that I'm taking for the couple, but also the best energy that I can bring on the day of. With that being said, I just wanted to sit down and share my experiences so far and what I've learned pursuing professional photo and video, specifically in the wedding space. I hope I was able to help some of you that are wanting to break into weddings or start second shooting. That goes without saying that all the things that I've learned doing weddings, it all has translated into the work that I do now. And I admit, weddings was something that I told myself that I would never do when I first started filmmaking. But here I am. And I get it, because the amount of pressure, the things behind what a wedding day is, it's a lot for many, and at that time it was for me too. But if I never took that leap, I would have never learned and gathered all the skills that I have now. So that's all I have to say for today. I know, it looks a little different because little trip in Austin. This is only a temporary backdrop, but pretty cool, right? If you're into filmmaking or photography, I encourage you to stay with me on my journey. Hit the subscribe button. I'm always trying to share my experiences, trying to pursue a creative career professionally. Is that even right? I don't know. If you enjoyed the video or it was helpful to you in any way, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. Take care.